So everybody wants to know the story. Why go to Israel? How did I end up in Israel in the first place? And so I was a young pastor, 30 years old. We were pastoring a church in Youngstown, Ohio, and I got a phone call to go to Israel. And I got a call from Robert Stearns and Eagles Wings saying, would you come on a trip with 35 other pastors from across the country and come to Israel? And I thought, yeah, I'll go Bible geek out for a little bit. That'd be great. It was a trip that I thought maybe I'd take one day in my 60s. But at 30, what an opportunity. And so 2016, I got on a plane and met pastors from across the country and went to the Holy Land. And the things that impacted me were not the things I anticipated. Honestly, the deep things were things like Shabbat dinner and the Western Wall and places that I didn't anticipate. The Jesus sites and the Sea of Galilee. I mean, if you can't hear from the Lord on the Sea of Galilee, just check your pulse. You're dead. The bottom line is it really touched my heart, and I realized that my faith was much deeper and went much further than I had imagined. Because as far as I was concerned, as a 30-year-old pastor, Israel was 5,000 years ago, 5,000 miles away. Like, what did I care? I wasn't anti-Semitic, but I was apathetic for sure. It didn't matter to me. What was it going to do for the single mom sitting in my church? And so I ultimately went there kind of apathetic. I needed Israel to preach the Bible. I needed Israel from a historical standpoint, but it didn't impact my life personally. And on that trip, I met rabbis, and I met Jewish friends, and I met Palestinian Christians, and I met others that have become lifelong friends. And it's been such a privilege to step into this space again and again. And so when I came back from that trip, I told my church, I taught for a couple months, and then I took my church back on their first trip to Israel. I think we had about 20, 25 people on that first trip. And I tried to give them the same experience that I had had in 2016. I had an incredible time. Then in 2019, I did it again. And this time I brought my mom and my wife. Such a privilege to baptize them in the Jordan, to get to be in those spaces. But I started to cultivate just this love for the people and for the land, and an appreciation for the ancientness and the rootedness of my own faith. And so I went back and forth a lot. COVID interrupted a little bit of that. But ultimately in 2022, we ended up coming to New York to pastor another church connected with Eagles Wings and Bishop Stearns. And as we did that, I had the privilege and opportunity then to jump on pastors' trips and be even more involved with the Israel experience. And so I was back and forth doing that quite a bit. And I launched a podcast at that time. You can check out some of those episodes on YouTube, and you can go to Apple, Spotify, all those places to subscribe. It's called Shoulder to Shoulder. But a rabbi that I met on that very first trip to Israel in 2016, Rabbi Pesach offered his business card and said, if you want to stay in touch and you want to be friends, give me a call. And I did. And he came to my church and we hung out, and he became a little bit of a guide for me through the Jewish-Christian dynamics, relationships, where the landmines are, where the pitfalls are theologically, where the pitfalls are historically. I was brand new to this space, and we built a beautiful friendship. And in 2021, we launched this podcast, and we've been privileged to have incredible guests, both guests very high up in government. We've had multiple ambassadors on. We've had pastors and bishops and doctors and all kinds of folks on the show over the years. And we've done, I don't know, something like 240 episodes at this point. We've done it every week for almost 5 years. And we've become a reliable source for a lot of people on Israel, both theologically and what's going on in the news as the war shifted. With October 7th. October 7th was very unique for me. I had been going back and forth to Israel since 2016, and in 2023, I was with Bishop Stearns on a trip. We had 300 pilgrims with us, 7 bus loads of people, and we left the morning of October 7th. I was sitting on the tarmac. I have pictures and videos in my phone, 6:45, 6:52. We were getting the rocket alerts on our phone as we took off, and we were one of the last flights out of Ben Gurion Airport before they shut the airport. About half of our people got stuck in bomb shelter there at the airport. It took 2 days to get everybody out, and my flight ended up landing in Munich about 4 hours later. And it was then that we realized, oh my goodness, this is serious. And shortly after that, I did a bunch of speeches and various media pieces and interviews because I had been there. People wanted to get, firsthand insight. And so that shifted the podcast, that shifted a little bit of our kind of ministry and focus, and honestly brought me a deeper love for Israel. I had friends now. It wasn't just them over there. It wasn't just a place I visited, but it was Natan, it was Pesach, it was Giddy, it was friends of mine that their family was in harm's way and their family was defending their homes and their family was in that place. And so it was flesh and blood. It was real in that moment. And then after October 7th in 2024, I had the privilege to go back on a solidarity mission with about 100 other people. And on that mission, I got to bring my kids for the first time. My wife and kids and my mom came, and we had an amazing experience. We went and we landed, and we said, we're going to fight the jet lag. We're not going to get stuck. We're going to fight this jet lag, and we are going to go to the beach the very first day we got there. And so we did. And on the way back, we were with our friends. And on the way back, the Iranians decided to attack. And we were stuck on the middle of Route 1 between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem on our way back to our apartment. And we got stuck sheltering on the side of the road with ballistic missiles blowing up overhead. It's an experience that each of my kids will carry with them for the rest of their lives, except for Abraham. Abraham managed to sleep through the entire thing. It was so loud. I was feeling the compressions in my chest. I don't know how he slept through the whole thing, but he did. And we had a wild experience that night. I was very shook. Went back to the apartment, even though we knew the Iron Dome, and even though we had friends that lived there, and even though everyone was saying, it's going to be fine and it's safe. It's still, unnerving as a parent to wonder, did I mess my kids up? Was this okay? And honestly, we had prepped the kids like, God's going to protect Israel, and Israel has the Iron Dome, and we're going to be okay. We had prepped them, and the kids believed us, and the kids believed God. And so when they got back to the apartment, we sat and had this kind of family meeting and asked the kids if they were okay. And they were like, yeah, can we go to bed? Like you said, God would protect us. And he did. I just went to bed. And it was me and my wife going like, what have we done? Should we leave early? It was intense. And it was a rabbi friend of mine, Rabbi Natan, messaged me. I've shared this story a few times publicly. He messaged me on WhatsApp, sent me a voice note, and was just like, are you okay, brother? I saw that you and the family arrived. Were you in the bomb shelter? And I explained our scenario. And he said, wow, that must have been real. And he said, how are the kids? How's the wife? And then he said this. He said, just know that your kids will never have to wonder if God does miracles. Because tonight they saw an open miracle. Iran shot hundreds of ballistic missiles and not one casualty happened. The Iron Dome and the hand of God protected the people of Israel. His arm is not too short. And so when Rabbi sent that to me, it was like the peace of God rode on that voice note. It was about midnight, and I looked at my wife, and we went to sleep, and we got up, and we had a beautiful 3-week trip after that. God was so good. Our kids had a blast. We ate lots of schnitzel and falafel and shawarma and enjoyed a beautiful time in Israel. I got to baptize my 2 oldest in the Jordan. Had a beautiful experience. But never in my wildest dreams did I think we would be moving to Israel, we would be on this journey. Never. I honestly love going back and forth. And I love America. I love coming back. I love bacon cheeseburgers. I love chicken wings. I love coming home after a trip like that. It's beautiful to go. And it's wonderful. And everybody should go, especially if you are a believer in the Bible, in Scripture. You need to go to the land where that was written, where that took place. You need to see it for yourself. You need to touch the stones. There's something powerful about that. And so it was never an aspiration to live. I joked with my wife that maybe in retirement I could see myself working at the Garden Tomb as a retired pastor, sharing the story of the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ on repeat for 6 or 8 weeks at a time. That would be kind of fun. But I never did I think, I'm going to go and I'm going to serve in Israel. And so we came back from that trip in 2024. And my wife and I went to a conference, and at this conference, we get this dynamic prophetic word. And I don't know what you necessarily believe about that, but this woman prayed for us who didn't know us. When she prayed for us, she grabbed our hands and said, I see you pack your bags and move to Israel. Have you ever thought of living there? And then from there, she spoke words over our kids, and for about 10 minutes, things that there's no way she could have known. She couldn't have gone on social media and grabbed anything that she was saying. She knew things, interestingly, about some family dynamics that were going on behind the scenes and different things that we were blown away and really felt the Lord on it. And so we took that and we submitted that word to leadership and sat on it and prayed on it and fasted on it and thought about it. And ultimately, through a series of other divine moments and connections and conversations with people we love and trust, we came to the conclusion that God was sending our family to continue this sacred work in Israel. We didn't know how, we didn't know what we'd do. So through a conversation with our denomination, because we're pastors and they have some churches there, we've been invited to come work with those churches. But we've also built relationships over the last decade of going back and forth to Israel with a number of great organizations and people across religious, political, social lines that we can do some tremendous stuff with. And Rabbi Pesach and I are going to continue my podcast. I'm so looking forward to connecting with our Eagles Wings family and continuing to seeing the trips come from the States to Israel and getting to be a part of those when time allows me to. Just all of it just feels like this holy collision of my pastoral calling and what we've done for 20 years and the last 10 years of falling in love with Israel, with the friends and relationships we've made there. We have so many Shabbat dinner invites, and we have just opportunities to really step in and do something special. And so we count it an absolute privilege that God is taking us on this journey. And so over the next year, we're going to be traveling the country. We're going to be sharing our Israel story, our love for God, our love for Israel, and what we feel like He's doing right now on the earth. And we're going to be sharing that with anyone who will listen. And so we'll do that through YouTube. We'll do that in churches. We're headed to, I think we're confirmed in about 11 states right now. We have some outstanding invitations in different places. And so I think by the time we're said and done, we may get to close to 20 states. So excited. We homeschool our kids, so they're going to get to see the country. They're going to see a lot of cool stuff. And we're going to go into little churches and big churches. And, I told one pastor, I said, I'll do a women's knitting meeting. I'm so excited to carry this message. And I believe it's a privilege what God has done in my heart and in my life, and to share my journey, my story, and how deeply impacted I've been by the God of the Bible, who I've met through His Son Jesus. I'm a Jesus guy. I'm a local church guy. I believe firmly in that. And I think it's going to be such a privilege to get to serve God in the Holy Land with my family. We're going to learn Hebrew. We've already started Hebrew classes. I'm sure we're going to learn a little bit of Arabic too. We want to be able to get around. We want to be able to speak to people, speak to locals. We want to be able to speak their language. We want to be able to be in the midst of it. And I think that's important. Language is a really important thing. And that's where we're at. We're literally setting out this weekend. We are setting out for our first couple churches where we've got a vision breakfast with like 50 people coming to it. And we just count this as an absolute privilege to get to do. And so I hope that you'll journey with us. As my wife said in her little video, she doesn't understand why anybody would tune in and follow along. But I hope you laugh with us. I hope you cry with us. I hope you enter into this journey and get to come with us around the country and then eventually to Israel. And so God bless you, and please tune in, subscribe, do all those things that you're supposed to do, because the reeds are here and we're headed to Israel.